since we're talking about AEW, this last week they did an angle. This is probably what everybody tuned in tonight to listen to us talk about. Was this last Dynamite? I put it over when it happened. The Young Bucks and Jack Perry attacked Tony Khan. Now, I was live when it happened. I put it over. I gave an A for effort. Not as far as like, I just put it over as far as I gave it an A for effort of character work. And I just said, look, if this doesn't pop a rating, like at least Tony Khan didn't do the overrun, do an overrun trick. And I was like, if it pops a rating next week and they touch like 1 million or 900, okay. This shit, they didn't announce like, oh, Tony Khan's going to get pile drivered, so people aren't tuning in to see that. But I said, listen, at least they're trying to tell a fucking story. At least they're trying to, I give it like, at least they're trying. At least they're trying. And then I was being like sort of what's the word? I don't want to say facetious. I was just being silly about I was like, Tony Khan, thank you for keeping kayfabe alive, right? Like I'm putting him over. I'm joking around, obviously. Like I couldn't be more tongue in cheek with the comment, but basically he's wearing the neck brace at the draft, and I'm like, okay, people are talking about AEW. This is a good thing. Whether you don't like it or you like it, people might tune in next week to see what happens. Now he's wearing the neck brace, blah, 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 blah. And then he makes the Pepsi and Weinstein comments, which we're going to get into all in a second. But I want your guys' reaction to, now I don't want to get Don Stevens here, but we're going to play this. And I put it over on the live stream. I went on like a 10-minute fucking caffeine-induced rant where I was like, I weighed out the pros and the cons, and I was like, look, like it's not the greatest thing in the world. I get why people are like, it's knockoff NWO, but at the same time, I'm sitting here saying, at least they're trying to do character work and tell a story, etc., etc., etc. Now, I want to know your guys' thoughts on what went down here. I have a clip of here's the moment it all went down. I'm gonna turn the volume down.
The boop in the tummy.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause it a bunch, guys. Don't get mad when in the clips, in the comments. I gotta pause it a bunch, otherwise I'm gonna get Don Stevens. Okay, so he gets booped, drops like fucking death, flat as shit,
just like he fell out of a window, like he splatted on the sidewalk.
Just brutal, and then reacts late.
That's the way a person who just had a fatal brain aneurysm falls. Like just dead, lifeless, limp, just gone. The soul has left your body before you hit the ground. That is how he sold a boop to the tummy.
He didn't even double over or anything. Like he's just no practice, no rehearsal, I guess.
This is the funniest picture of all time. After a little boop to the belly.
I've always said that like he finds a way to make everything from drinking water to speaking awkward. He just made like everything he does is awkward.
Now, do you guys see this very culturally diverse group of seemingly like college students that probably all got paid $50 each to be in the crowd, and they're all very super shocked? Do you think these were seat fillers, or are these shoot AEW fans?
There is more than one. There's more than one female over there. Right. So yes, I believe that they are all seat fillers.
My word. So
there are 95 seats there, and 92 of them have been taken up by seat fillers.
So now he's rolling, and then he's like touching Jack Perry awkwardly shin to shin. Like, do you see that weird? What's going on there?
He's just so gang. I never realized how gangly he is.
Shout out our gay listeners, but come on, hey? Is that
I thought he was going to say that too.
No, for real though, for real.
No, I wasn't saying that.
No, it don't matter. It's like you're saying it what it is. Hey, gay listeners.
If he was gay,
no, he didn't say that. He said gangly.
If he was gay, he'd dress better and groom himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my goodness, but this is weird. It's all like octopusy. He's like slithering around the I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say here. It's just weird. Then he starts getting up, and he's so skinny is what dawned on me during this. But I went, holy shit, he actually attacked him. So now the story's like, I don't know, guys. I'm a fucking mark, but I'm like, okay, maybe they can why did Jack Perry? Now I'm asking questions. Well, why did he do this?
You know why?
I know. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, this is so easy to see coming down the pike.
There's no why. They've explained it in great detail.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm just saying, like, but like the Bucks last week, they were standing with. I know. I'm trying to make sense of I'm playing devil's advocate here, folks.
Keep going. Keep going. I want to hear this.
Last week, the Bucks were standing with Tony Khan, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I think I was with Awful, and we reacted to that. But he was going
right, and then the ratings came out, Phil. The ratings came out, and they did a complete 180 on everything.
Right, and then they attack him this week. So let's say you're a diehard, let's say you're WWE Real One or you're AIR Gold. You're like, oh man, they were with him and now they're against him, and now there's like a story. Why week to week did this happen? I get it. It's elementary at best. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is they're trying, at first I was like, okay, maybe I don't know. Like, obviously the new elite, all that stuff, but now we're going to hear from Kenny, and does Kenny condone what they do? Or is he like, no, fuck you guys? Cause he's been talking on his game stream. Like, no, I say, let people fight and da. Are they at least trying to like do the like internet work?
Now, let me tell you something. If they wanted somebody to boop in the tummy that was going to make an impact to get people talk, you boop the guy with diverticulitis in the tummy.
Right.
And then Kenny selling it like that would have made sense.
Oh, come on,
and then
Shad Khan came out.
Yeah, he came out to finish him off.
Oh my god, I just love
Hey guys, after 5 years, we're still trying. That's just what AEW needs.
And this shit got memed where like Tony's on his knees in front of Okada. I'm sure you guys saw it, but yeah, it's just ridiculous. So they get him up.
Look at the way he wraps his legs around his head.
That's a triangle choke. That's some jujitsu shit. But like, goddamn, you don't do that in wrestling. You might hurt his neck. But also like.
That's not a triangle choke would involve one of the legs underneath his throat, wouldn't it? Unless he's trying to choke him with his ball bag.
Right. You need arm. You need this arm to also, or this arm, but you need it to be trapped also under the leg as well. But
you can tell how terrified.
Look at Perry's face.
He's holding on for dear life. You can tell.
So then, he's holding on. Don't Hulk Hogan stiff me, brother. And then here we go.
Every time I see this,
the Tony Khan driver, the TK driver, they actually renamed it. It's not the Meltzer driver anymore. Boom, lets him go. And then he just lays flat dead, and then his dad runs out and shit. So you guys just absolutely, it was just a wet fart in church. Like, it wasn't anything. Like, you like not even an A for at least trying.
I see what they're trying to accomplish here. It just was poorly executed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, yes, Austin stunnering Vince and Vince selling it like the way awfully did, the way he did was cringy. But at the time, no one had ever hit Vince before. Like, no one had ever hit an official before at that point. Like, that's why that was so like people have been hitting officials in wrestling for 30 years now. This is not new anymore. Like you have to give me more than just Tony Khan got booped in the tummy and then took a move from the killers of ratings, on his show. The guys who you see every week with the quarter hours are just killing the numbers every single week.
Right, and NXT basically beat them this week. Like, if we're being real about
it, they were within 20,000 people of the average.
Well, but that's like an average, dude. If you look at the main event of of Dynamite blew it
out of the water,
whatever, and then the main event of Trick winning the title was like 620 or 640 or whatever. That's like
I thought it was in the sevens actually.
Maybe it's
it was 741
earlier.
740.
Dude, it was in the sevens. That's what I mean, dude. 741 for Dynamite. They had 791 was their peak, but it was Big Bang Theory or whatever was leading into. It was their lead-in. Yeah. So it doesn't.
What you saw,
I don't even count that average. Like,
the Dynamite quarter hours started high with the Big Bang, and then of course goes down on a downward slope every week. The NXT ratings actually started pretty low and went up as the show went on.
Right.
Shout out Triple H's thoughts, by the way. I didn't shout him out before. Shout out Triple H's thoughts. So while this goes on, after that happens, AEW loses its TV deal in Latin America. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, How many people were actually watching in Latin America? That's what I want to
know. Okay, so
the fact that nobody brought it up or made mention of it, I had to find out through, other sources other than Fightful or Wrestling Observer or anything like that. So, I mean, I think that's big news. The fact that they didn't say anything about it says a lot, actually.
By the way, I do want to point out, I give him props for wearing the neck brace, but if you're gonna wear the neck brace and do the neck brace gimmick, he's sitting there going,
and yeah,
like an owl, like a startled owl, turning his head 360 degrees.
And we got
one of you guys
chat from Silver Tower. When Jack hit Tony, I was expecting white powder to fly off his.
Oh my God!
Jesus,
something to fall out of his pocket.
No, imagine just like exploded out of his face, like it just came out of his nose.
God, dude. $5 to just ultimately roast Tony, man. That is absolutely hilarious. Thank you so much for the super chat, dude. That is fucking hilarious. That is so mean, but also, I mean, yeah, come on. We don't.
I have a question. Was Tony Khan ever mentioned, or has he ever participated in any of the previous NFL drafts? Or is this first time?
Last year.
It's like the one time of year that his father is like seen with him.
Come on, son, come sit with me. And so, speaking of father son, so Tony Khan and the NFL draft, Tony Khan shows up wearing the neck brace, and he discusses his father Shad Khan's reaction to his assault at the hands of Jack Perry and the Young Bucks. He was very angry at the people who assaulted me. My dad loves AEW. I should do it in his voice. He's very angry at the people who assaulted me. Haha. My dad loves AEW, and he's a big fan of what we do Wednesdays on TBS. And could you get me a soda water? And Saturdays, just like tomorrow night in Jacksonville on TNT. He watches every show, and he never expected something like that. It's never happened before. Haha. So good on him for putting it over. What are your thoughts on? So a lot of people are saying, "Ooh, the shocking moment is Shad Khan popped up on TV." Awful. What's your thoughts on Shad Khan showing up? And then Marv, I want your thoughts on it. Like, did that give you any ooh, or to you were just like, this is cheesy? Like, how did you?
See, that's the whole thing. Had Tony Khan doubled over in pain, like he had actually gotten punched in the stomach and fell to his knees, and this whole thing would have taken place, and Shad Khan would have ran out of there, it would have worked to a T. But it's almost like it compounded the cringiness of the entire segment.
Yeah, no, I'm with him on that. And I mean, Shad Khan is not like falling at his son's side and like checking on him. He just kind of stood there awkwardly in the ring. I'm going to tell you right now, if my father watched me get dropped on my head, there would have been a much larger reaction probably.
Yeah, for sure.
He looked like he was there because like somebody was like, Shad, go make sure he's not dead.
Yeah, but I don't know. He sold better than Tony. Look at these facials, bro.
He had the reaction that my father had, like when I was like, "Hey, look at me," and tried to do like a trick on my bike and fell over the handlebars. Where he's just kind of like, "How stupid are you? How are you part of me?"
Right.
And so,
how did I get involved in this?
Yeah, exactly. But like, here's what I got to say about it. I think I brought it up before, maybe a different pod, or I was just talking in a DM with someone. But either way, Shad Khan got his fucking 33 million back. That's what I think Thurston confirmed, was that like Shad was the only investor or whatever that got paid back entirely. So I think he's cool with whatever Tony does, because he got his money back that he chipped in at the beginning. So I think he's just cool with like, let my son do whatever, I think that's how his approach to it. So
he worked it as a zero sum. He did not get an ROI from the $33 million. Put in 33 million, and then he got 33 million and pulled out.
Right. Well, sure. Yeah. But like, if it's your son, like apparently Tony only, like, because people are saying WBD invested, like other people invested, right? But his dad is the only one who got paid back in full so far. Everyone else is still waiting for a return, and his dad just wanted to get paid back. That's right. It. It's his kid, right? So apparently that's like where people get I don't know. To me, that's like a positive. People try and tout, if you will. The IWC loves that word now. They tout like, oh, but he paid his dad back type shit. And now his dad's showing up on screen, and they're on-screen characters. And I think his dad is just like, let him do whatever. I got paid back,
Right. So it wasn't inheritance.
As we've all been saying since the beginning of this, the end game for him is to be an on-air character. It's gonna happen.
Yep.
Tony McCon.
That Tony would eventually become an.
It's already getting over. Yeah.
Shad coming out there surprised me. I thought that he would never get involved in this ridiculousness. It was probably just like, Dad, will you come out and do this? If I do, you have to leave me alone for 3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. He's like, okay, but I let you do the draft and then you go home. You get the fuck. I'm leaving. So, and then we have Jess says Shad Khan is kind of fine for $2.99. Jess is always here. Avid
gold digger.
Yeah. Do you know what she said last show? I think it was Jess last show. She goes, we're talking about Dom Mysterio. And she goes, I want Dom to 619 me without the one. Dude, it killed me. I'm like, yo, come on.
Oh, that's a great line.
Yo, it was like, dude, that is crazy, you know. And the girls started thirsting. All the girl listeners started all thirsting in the chat last week, so that might start up again if it happens. Apologies to the fellas, or maybe some of the fellas are into that sort of thing. But anyways, I guess Shad Khan's sort of fine. He's got great facials, as I said. But then Tony Khan went off the deep end, much like I am right now. And he starts talking about the Pepsi of pro wrestling. And what you all have basically been watching all night. If you've been with us all night, you want to hear what myself and I'm sure Marvin all have to say about this moment in time, a historic moment in the history of pro wrestling, to say the least. As far as, I guess, like, the AEW is the number 2, like, we can't argue that. But so he says this great stuff about, I guess, like, my dad's angry at the people who pile drive me, and it's like, yes, just focus on AEW and wear the neck brace and drive home your storylines and take the time to put your shit over. And then he makes it about WWE again and steps on his big billionaire dick.
You had one of the greatest opportunities to get your product out there, to get people were talking about it. You were on one of the most watched sports weeks of the year, and you have an opportunity to talk about your product, your show, your thing. And what do you do? What do you do, Tony? You start talking about WWE.
It's
and
just
you say this.
So
you say the stupidest thing ever, and the host cannot get you off the air fast enough. I mean, you'll see.
And yeah, awful. Anything before we play this infamous clip that has gone viral.
Ugh. Roll this footage. It's awesome.
Okay, so let's fucking go right here. He's on the NFL Network. He just drafted, and I think I got the clip bookmarked. He drafted some dude, and they're like, "What do you think about Tony Khan?" And he's like, sweet, you know, like, he's like, who the fuck is Tony Khan?
So much comedy gold in this thing, just so much.
So here's Tony Khan on the NFL Network. Could have just put his own shit over.
This for 5 years. We are the most successful sports startup since the AFL. Pre-merger. There has not.
Look at his face, the guy in the pink tie. He's like, dude, cut. When he says we're the biggest since the AFL, he's like, don't say that.
We are the most successful sports startup since the AFL. Pre-merger. There has not been a challenger brand.
This guy's like, not really. I can't Google that right now, but anyway.
That has gained as much market share as AEW. In many, many, many years. We are like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. Yeah. And we're up against a really evil juggernaut. WWE.
An evil.
Here's where it all goes to shit.
Juggernaut.
Oh my.
He is our competitor. That's who we're facing. AEW.
Stop.
Look at their faces.
They're not your competitor. You don't have to compete with them. You stupid man. You do not have to compete with them. Just do your own thing. Forget about them. Ignore them. Move on with your life.
And everyone's like, oh, ECW did that. WCW did that. And they were
on at the same night at the same time.
Yes. And they're all dead, too. They all died and got bought by WWE. So what the fuck are you like? No, don't do that.
You know who didn't? You know who didn't try to do that? ECW. And it's more fondly remembered.
Right. Well, they were, and
the only reason ECW stopped is not because the WWE killed it. It's because it ran out of money.
Yeah, and they were being funded by the WWE and Vince, right? Regardless, like, you know. So the whole thing though is, look at this guy's face, and now Marv. I don't want to stray too far away, but so we're gonna continue with that video because it's not done. But I have a tweet I bookmarked from yourself, Movie Marvin on X. I gotta find it here. I'm right here. So I'm sure the NFL is thrilled with Tony right now, comparing their major merchandising partner to Harvey Weinstein, which is about to happen. We didn't get to the Weinstein part, but exactly. Look at these NFL titles. When they ask the player, "Oh, hey, Tony Khan," like he's probably sitting there going, "What? Do I get one of those WWE belts? Like what the fuck?" On SmackDown, they were showing, like Kofi's handing out the WWE belt to the New England Patriots latest draft pick and all these things. And not only, as at Movie Marvin pointed out, like, yes, it's a major merchandising partner. It's one of their top like merchandising partners. Like it's one of their it's like their top one or whatever. Like these belts go for like $500 or $600 a piece or whatever. They're fucking, and they're big business. So, and you can see they're uncomfortable with this. Tony's saying evil juggernaut, and they're like, dude, we're only giving you a chance to talk about AEW because your dad owns the Jaguars, so we have to. And it's like makes for good clicks, and they know marks like myself are going to comment on it and do a little wrestling. Maybe they don't know that, but it's like a little viral moment, whatever you want to call it. But ultimately at the end of the fucking day, it's just what Marv said. They're partners with the fucking WWE, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Phil, at the end of the day, he's there to talk about the Jaguars. He's there to talk about the NFL draft. He's there to talk about football. Them giving him an opportunity to plug AEW is done in the same vein as you or I with a guest on our respective shows, telling them, tell us where we can find you, like plug your thing. It should have been 10 seconds tops. Like, yeah, we're doing really great. We got this big show coming up. We got all these guys that you might know of. Here are the names. Huge show coming up. All this, that, and the other thing. Oh, I was attacked on the show. We'll see what happens. There you go. You're done. And so, but he can never just make a small comment and move on. He has to sit there and bloviate and stammer and just pull things out of thin air. And I'm convinced that the only reason he takes the hard left turn that he makes is because he didn't want to say the word Coke.
I think you might be onto something with that. Awful. Do you have anything to add to what either myself or Marvin said before we continue with this complete travesty of a video?
I would love to know the body language, like analysts tell us about what's going on with these NFL reporters as they're watching this guy with his fake neck brace. Like the one guy literally looked like he was about to bowl over the chair when he was talking about, the comment that we're about to examine.
That face right there. I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's ridiculous. $10 super chat from Jimmy B. Oh my goodness. And an applause. Oh, an applause for you there, Jimmy B. I think if the Bucks did something more serious, like hitting him with a chair, the Meltzer driver was just too hokey for me. It is a little weird, like Tony's upside down and not like wriggling his feet or trying to squirm out or whatever. But I don't know. Do you hit Tony with a chair? Is he?
I think you could have done something like the one-man concerto to Tony. Because it doesn't, you could fake it, but it looks,
but then incredibly he just lays there. Like his whole thing is like he can't sell. This is his first time ever. He's got to do it.
You get your head crunched between two steel chairs. You just have to lay there.
God damn. Yeah, but I mean, overall, it's I don't know. I think the tombstone being treated serious is a good thing because it's essentially just a tombstone where a guy touches your butt. But if but in AEW, none of the moves get treated seriously. So. Nothing serious, bro. So even if they hit him with a chair, it's all hokey. Ultimately, if it's Tony Khan and the Bucks and Jack Perry and Shad Khan running out, people say like Jack Perry's whole gimmick now is just, oh, I got smacked by CM Punk. So like that's just hokey on just a base level automatically. So thank you so much for the $10 super chat. But here we go. So Tony Khan continues, and he just like says more awful shit about WWE, and these guys just aren't having it. The two NFL draft guys are not having it
like
whatsoever.
The Pepsi of pro wrestling, WWE's like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling.
So let me just back that up. The Pepsi and
WWE's like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And
I'm so sorry. One more time, Tony. What did you say?
That's who we're facing. AEW, like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE's like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And
look at this fucking guy.
Okay. See, they're just like, okay, that's enough. Thank you. Goodbye.
Oh my goodness, he is the worst. There's not enough bad descriptors to describe Tony Khan.
The only way that he could have made that worse is if he said something about WWE being like the Jews or something like that. Like if he had made
we already went down the anti. Did you guys hear about Def Rebel? We talked about the anti-Semitic shit earlier in the show.
That's the only way this could have been worse, and they would have gotten him out of there faster.
It's just insane because they're just like, dude, because these two guys already know, like, you're a fucking joke, bro. We're friends with Pat McAfee. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? They're like, dude.
I do not think there is one person in the world who does not look at him as a freaking joke. Like every person that associates with him solely based on the fact of who his father is, or he's paying them in some way. Every single person that deals with him is under the impression, okay, this guy is an absolute joke.
He wants to push the WWE into the sea.
It's so silly, man. $10
a world without WWE.
Well, that would suck, though. Like, that's the other thing, too. What, you want WWE to go out of fucking business? That shit would suck. Total breakdown. The fuckery equals the fuckery of TK is remarkable in a bad way. The Jaguars are doomed. AEW is dead on arrival. Sad. Before you guys showed up, man, people were super chatting me just to shit on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah. On the show, dude. To 200 people is fucking hilarious, man. And but yeah, I mean, John D. Lee, thank you so much for the super chat. And it is a breakdown, but listen, it's not like he's melting down. Like, look at the cocky little fucking smirk on his face as he says this shit. Like, he knows what he's doing. He knows it's gonna drum up the hate.
That's true.
And then he's gonna cry wolf and cry victim and go, oh, to be AEW is to be constantly under attack. Meanwhile, he's just constantly not letting shit go. And then everybody goes, oh, it's okay when Triple H does it. He didn't do it on the NFL Network on draft night. He did it on Pat McAfee's fucking podcast. Like, dude, you guys are fucking...
And he didn't compare AEW to a convicted rapist.
Right, dude. Like, it's just another level of abs. And then people start going, oh, well, his dad supported Trump and this guy this. And it's like, none of that shit fucking matters.
That doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah, what matters is we're having a little Jack Vaughn in the Battle Royal there, the veteran Jack Vaughn, where they're all like pity-patty slapping each other. Little pity-petty slap fights. That's like what's going on. And Tony Khan is just basically doing that. Like,
well you see, Pat, the WWE, we're like the Burger King of pro wrestling. And, AEW, they're like the Jeffrey Dahmer of pro wrestling. Like, that's not what happened.
That's what we're facing. AEW, like the Pepsi of pro wrestling. WWE's like the Harvey Weinstein of pro wrestling. And
he looks so proud when he says that. He is so proud to say it.
That's a good point, Awful, because you know what? I really only watched this clip one time because I can only hear his voice so many times. And
it's great. My voice is awesome.
The ease in which he says it and the smirk on his face as he says it shows me that's a pre-planned.
And that's what Brian Alvarez does. That's what Meltzer does. They have that little fucking smirk on their little lips, and they fucking say these things where you just go, you're just it's like you're being a schmarmy prick about everything, and I just schmarmy. That's the word I use.
I'm really proud of what we do down here.
I think all right, Tony, we're gonna
look. Even Tony has to laugh at the absurdity of it all.
Well, no, he's shocked that they're stopping him. He's shocked that they are stopping him right now because he's trying to go on with, I'm really proud of what we're doing here, and he's trying to continue promoting, and they're like, no, you're done. You are done after saying that. Okay, Tony. They're like, okay, Tony.
Yeah, like, so what did they say? Oh, Tony Khan is drafting here on behalf of the Jacksonville Jaguars because he's the son of the owner, Shad Khan. Like, is that what they say? What the fuck do they say when this guy's on? Like, I don't get, how did he get this interview? Oh, yeah, I did like a tombstone on fucking my show, and it's great, and I need a soda water. Do you have a soda water? You ever watch the Ariel Helwani interview, too, when he's, like, choking and coughing? At the start of the interview, Ariel's like, yeah, let's start. Tony Khan's like, oh, give me a second. He's like gagging on a soda water bottle. You guys ever see that shit? It's ridiculous.
Well, to be honest, I think you're going to have to tune in to AEW to find out what they have to say.
To find out about Harvey Weinstein and WWE, come tune into AEW to find out about Harvey Weinstein and WWE. And Pepsi.
I love how the reporters are just like completely flabbergasted with his whole visage. Like, we should have known. We should have known you were going to continue to spout and promote and do this nonsense.
they are beyond done. Like these guys
Yeah.
are just like, nope, get him out of here.
They represent every American that's watching this particular video, that segment.
I wonder what Shad Khan thinks of his, because like they were like, well, the NFL's not going to care because the NFL, you know, Goodell works for the owners of the teams and blah. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure Shad Khan is not thrilled, and I'm sure the other owners of all the teams are not thrilled with Shad and his son right now.
That's why I'm thinking he's like worst case scenario, I sell the fucking company. And then like the dude invented like the modern muffler or whatever, or I mean the modern bumper, pardon me, for like like modern vehicles, the bumper, like however it's whatever, he patented like the modern version of that shit. The dude's got infinite forever money. Just so it's just like, I don't know. I just think he's like, I got paid back. What's the worst case scenario? He ends up selling the Jaguars one day, like, or he just gives it to his son who's sitting here. Look at this guy on 2 hours of sleep, had his wet dream come true in a neck brace, calling people Harvey Weinstein.
people try to say that Tony is like the co-owner of the Jaguars. I don't know how true that is.
No, that's not true. He's the
co-owner. No, he's not the co-owner. No.
So Michael Dodd for $5 says AEW is Pepsi. No, with NXT catching up to Dynamite's ratings, we covered that earlier. AEW is more lukewarm. RC Cola bought on bulk discount at a Dollar Tree. Well, shit, you cooked them right there. And here's the thing, we covered it earlier. So, and we talked about it a little bit, but NXT, man, their main event. So what you're trying to do with a TV show, you're trying to garner interest and then peak at the main event, especially with a wrestling show. So if you look at the graphs or whatever, the ratings are going up for NXT. It's a slow climb to the peak. For AEW, it's always like a ski slope, all the puns intended, all the way down to the end of every AEW show. So yeah, and I mean AEW being Pepsi, but okay, let me ask you guys, is AEW Pepsi to WWE's Coca-Cola? Let me ask you guys. No? So then what's Pepsi to WWE's Coca-Cola if there were one? If you had to name one, what would it be?
I don't think there is one.
It's no. You got to pick one though. It's got to be AEW, right? Like if I put a gun to your head and said you got to pick one, it's got to be AEW.
It's
right?
UFC.
No. Okay, like, but it's not shoot aside, just pro wrestling. It's gotta be.
He doesn't like your answer, Marv.
No. I'm fine with any answer because I'm the first guy to go. Yeah, UFC is the number one. Like they're doing pro wrestling better, like, you know.
So but before AEW existed, Phil, was ROH the Pepsi to WWE's Coke?
I would see on a personal level, I would say in New Japan.
It's not on the same. Pepsi and Coke are at least somewhat on the same level.
You could at least, they're comparable to a degree. They're peers. Like AEW and WWE are not peers. I guess that's the argument I'm looking for, right? Like they're not eye to eye on, and they're not even eye to nose. They're not even eye to lips. They're eye to fucking nips. You know what I mean?
The only thing that's comparable is the amount of money. Yeah. The only thing that is comparable is the amount of money that is being spent.
Right.
There is no competition with, WWE. Listen, AEW's biggest competitor are the Vanderpump Rules, the Housewives of Atlanta,
big little brawlers.
Big little brawlers. Like that's their real competition at this point. They need to stop getting.
I gotta say it. Big Little Brawlers is on Max at least.
Yeah, and I checked it out, man, and I was sports entertained to say the least. Not even gonna lie. I was gonna talk about it on the pod, but hey, I also want to say though, Swerve and Claudio are just like going. This match feels like it's been like 30 minutes, and Claudio's hit Swerve with Swerve's move with like a double stomp, and then like Swerve's just like no selling it, and I'm like, isn't that your move though? So I don't know, man. This is very confusing, and they've gone so long just for Claudio to take an L to Swerve on Collision here. But thank you for the $5 super chat, and the RC Cola I think is probably a more fair comparison. But Headingite for $2 says TK is on the spectrum. Nash said so on his. Okay, well Nash is not a doctor.
Yeah, Dr. Nash.
Yeah, Nash has one of the worst fucking, like, he was great in shoot interviews with Sean Oliver, but he should have never started a fucking podcast with Sean Oliver.
Kevin Nash is as much of a psychiatrist as Dr. Phil.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, me? I'm a doctor now. It's great.
Not you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just joking. But yeah, TK being on the spectrum. I mean, everyone's on the spectrum in 2024, bro. Come on. The GMOs, it's what they put in our food. The black helicopters, they're spraying shit in the You know what I mean?
Turn
though,
the
like, for
freaking
real, like,
frogs gay.
yeah, dude.
Gay
There's
bomb,
going
baby.
on, bro. We're all a little redacted, as I call it.
I like how these reporters asked Tony Khan about like what his next draft pick was going to be, and then Tony Khan gives both of them the Ariel Helwani treatment. Like, I can't comment, gentlemen. I mean, what are we doing here? Like,
right.
what?
And so
What are you doing there?
Let's look at Tony Khan's title here. Tony Khan, Jaguars Chief Football Strategy Officer and AEW owner / CEO. Jeepers creepers,
Football
man! You couldn't be more of
strategy
a
officer.
Marxist.
Like that's oh my god.
Really me.
You find out on TNT and TBS what my prognosis is and what's going to happen to me.
I'll tell you what. save all
Your
that
prognosis,
stuff. Your
your
take.
prognosis while you're sitting there smiling with
Right.
your little neck brace on. Shut up.
And so I'm on the app here. So the collision before it actually went live on the air, before the Celtics Heat game was done, Tony Khan came out and addressed the crowd, and he's like, "Yeah, later tonight we'll get an update on my health." And he's out there with a fucking neck brace, giving a 15-minute promo to the crowd. And he's like, we'll find out what my diagnosis is and a major update on me tonight. Literally, that's what he's doing tonight. I'm sitting there like, why don't you just tell the crowd you're out there with a mic right now? Like, why? Just like let one of the fucking hot girls go out there and talk to the crowd for a minute. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? What are you doing?
The one thing that I was hoping after he took the driver and got carted out of the ring, I was like, please tell me he came back out between the shows to do the please stay for ROH I Love Time Cop promo.
Time Cop.
Why didn't he do a stretcher job? I'll never understand it.
You know what? I understand that because they had another show to get to, and it wasn't on TV. If it was on TV and he didn't do a stretcher job, I get it. But yeah, it was off the air,
bro.
It was off the air
to the internet marks, though. You gotta go full blast. You gotta go. I'm going full force. That old
Got
fellow.
to.
Here we go. Here, let's finish up Tony here because he's.
Well, guys, this is the NFL Network. There's a lot of people watching. I can't give out that kind of sensitive.
Yeah, there's a lot of people watching, so let me call people a grapist. Let me call all of WWE grapist.
And also, a lot of things have to play out in the second and third round.
These guys are like, this guy, the audacity of this man. They are literally sitting there throwing their hands in the air.
Yeah, like why? Like literally throwing their hands in the air. Like, you're talking to us because you're a guy's kid.
Again, this great group, we're going to make good decisions and keep trying to make the team better. I think a lot of great things happening in Jacksonville this week.
Yeah.
And you really think that these guys don't know anything about Tony Khan? That's what I'm saying. Like, they know, they're from the sports world. They know about Tony Khan's reputation in the sports world. They don't have to know anything about AEW to know that this guy's a complete goofball. You know, we've heard quotes from football players who worked under the Jaguars. They know about Tony Khan. It's not a secret.
We've had listeners of sorry to interrupt you, but PWT listeners have gotten in my chat and super chatted and gone, no, fuck, like, I live in Jacksonville, fuck Tony Khan. So and the Khan family, but I'm like, what? I don't live there. I'm not saying fuck the Khan family, but that's what super chatters have fucking said. And listeners of PWT, sorry, Awful, go ahead.
No, that's exactly the point. You know, this guy's reputation precedes him way past the AEW phase. Like, this guy was not seen as a serious, competitive person. Obviously, with the teams that he owns, they're not doing too hot. I can only imagine being a newly recruited Jaguars player having to sit there and watch this guy.
Like the guy in the draft, he got drafted, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Tony Khan, AEW, he got pile drivered. What do you have to say?" And the kid's like, he's like, "Yeah, it's real good. Cool, I love AEW." You know, like, it was just like, yeah, it's really good. Like, he didn't know what the fuck. He didn't know who the fuck. And speaking of which, per WrestleNomics, the lowest total viewership since January 6th. Pause. Just kidding. I'm sorry. Jan 6, 2021. Jericho. Where we? I'm just kidding. Excluding preemption. At least bro warned us because Tony Khan infamously wore the glasses. 2024 AEW is the next 2021. He predicted it himself. Wore the glasses, and then they got their lowest total viewership since Jan 6, 2021. But then Eric Bischoff responds to this, and he goes, all while this creepy little fuck and his spirit clown Dave Meltzer whine like about tribalism. So like Eric Bischoff snapped. He had like 100 tweets. in response to all of this. My response to this was Tony's such a fucking idiot. Why go on here and bring up WWE at all? Dude will never get it. And I got a million people in here like, dude, I don't know. You can go through it at Pro Wrestle Times on X. People were just either agreeing with me or coming at me tremendously hard for bringing this whole thing up, or just at least like saying, because underneath I said like, look, I'm going to cook Tony. I was like, I'm going to cook him on PWT for being a fucking idiot. And I even said I put the last 2 days putting TK in the ending to Dynamite over, and now all the freakazoids are melting down because my opinion on this specific instance. These AEW stands are slowly killing the company and driving so many people away, and they won't learn either. Just like Tony Khan, he won't fucking learn because he just had to make this about WWE. Awful. What are your, like, I guess, just overarching thoughts? How does this help AEW in any way? Like, if you had to get in Tony's brain, how does he think this would help? What is the point of all this? And do you just, I mean, this is great shit for your book, no?
It's wonderful. I mean, the chapters are writing themselves, but this doesn't help Tony Khan at all. While he may have gotten people to become aware of AEW, it's not ultimate. Like, he's got to hold on to this buzz not only through Saturday, but he's got to hold on to this type of this type of promotion all the way up through Wednesday and into Thursday. And I don't think he's going to make it that far. I don't think what he's done on television and what he's done on the NFL Network is going to help things at all. The average person that was watching this knows nothing about wrestling. I don't think it's going to seduce them to watch anything that he's got to offer come Wednesday night.
So here was on the Pat McAfee show, and this is per Julian Weeks. So they started cooking Tony Khan on the Pat McAfee show and the NFL. And again, people are like, but it's okay when Pat McAfee does it. And I don't know, man. He just does like a podcast about like football and wrestling and shit. He's not like he's not on a wrestling promotion. He's not taking shots at AEW when he does commentary every week. Has he? If somebody can point out where he has, do so, and I'll stand corrected. But I don't think he's taken any shots at any AEW people while on commentary or on the job. But people could say, oh, well, this is the job, but it's his fucking job. It's the Pat McAfee show. It's not the WWE Pat McAfee, the bump. You know, it's fucking his show. So anyways, though, this is what they had to say about Tony Khan.
Go ahead, man. Well, I was just going to say, I understand, keeping up with the gimmick. Someone should tell Tony Khan, hey, if you have a neck brace on, don't fucking move around like nothing's wrong. You just stick with the gimmick and look straight ahead like your neck's broken, okay?
Thank you.
What are we doing here?
Thank you. What are we doing here, Brendan Chubb?
Okay, well,
about time.
Go ahead, man. Well, I was just going to
So there you go. I don't know. It's what I think you brought that up earlier, or maybe Marv did, but how fucking funny is that? They're just cooking him because it's like he was moving around. He's doing a lot of neck jerking and all of that, like posturing at the WWE, calling them all sorts of names. Yeah, I don't know, man. What do you think, Awful, about, like, is it comparable, like saying, Triple H just saying, oh, this young guy doesn't embrace the grind on Pat McAfee show? Is that the same thing as like going on Dynamite or the NFL Network and wasting your fucking time talking about WWE and what they're doing when you have an angle you're trying to work where, Yeah,
you don't do anything. You don't make the comparisons between Pepsi and Harvey Weinstein first and foremost. And if you know that you're going to be on the NFL Network, to be quite honest with you, I believe that he should have never even wore the neck brace. It wouldn't have taken anything away from, the angle that's going on AEW. The fact that he wore a neck brace was drawing attention first and foremost, not to the company, but to himself. And I don't think that's what you need to be. He needs to be doing that at all. He needs to focus in on his company and stop making it about himself. He kind of overshadowed his entire company this weekend.
No doubt. And especially for a guy, pardon me, who didn't want to be an on-screen character, no less. And then we check
as Tony Khan becomes the first.
So this is what we're referring to, and we're like, hey, like, don't move your neck. Like, he's looking completely to the left.
Right.
Like he does a gorilla when wrestlers are walking through, and he's like, oh.
And is that Doug Peterson to the left?
Yes.
First ever NFL executive.
to our
completely
left.
In a
embarrassed.
draft room, shaking off the effects of a pile driver he received on national television in a wrestling ring the night before.
Why is he smiling, bro? Like, sell it.
As
Because
Tony
he
Khan-
knows he's on camera.
He just
He sees
a
himself
mark
on the
for himself.
monitor.
I did a video called Tony Khan, 10 minutes of Tony Khan, and what I did is I watched that whole reality show, AEW All Access, fucking like 2 or 3 times, and I clipped every moment that he was mentioned or appeared on screen, and I uploaded it to YouTube at Pro Wrestle Clips. You can check that video out. And I want to make one for the Young Bucks because they are like this, man. They watch their own matches, and it was revealed in that reality show, and they're like marking out for themselves, dude. You know, and Nash and Hall famously did like a shoot interview where they're like, oh yeah, we just love the business. We'd get together, we'd watch our matches back, and we'd talk about how we could make things better. And in this reality show, you see that the Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas, they don't fucking care about that. They're like putting over shit that when you think back, you're like, dude, the crowd was not hot. There was nobody there. Like the episode, like when you watch the episode and you think back, like, oh yeah, them versus the Lucha Bros. I remember that. They were like booing the Bucks who were trying to be babyface and shit. Like
Right.
it was not, it didn't work on TV, and they're just marking out for it. And it's like, dude, I don't know. It's just I'm gonna make that one next, like 10 minutes of the Young Bucks on All Access or whatever. But anyways, yeah, he's just such a mark for himself. Now, not like I'm not gonna sit here and like, it's his company. Booker T said it best. Your company, you can do what the fuck you want. But ultimately, man, this was like one of the worst moments.
That's
for him.
the only piece of advice that I think he ever hears and caters to. Like, it's your company. You can do whatever you want. Anything after that, he doesn't want to listen to.
No, and it's it's just it's sad. I feel honestly kind of bad for him sometimes, even though, like, how do you feel bad for a billionaire who could do whatever he wants?
Easy, you don't.
And that's what
It's
makes
as
me
simple
go,
as that.
no, I'm gonna make fun of him on the show, because it's just like I can't, like, it's just like you didn't need to bring up, like, you didn't need to do the whole Harvey Weinstein thing and all that. And like people will bring up, so what do you make of people will bring up and respond to comments of that being like, well, WWE's literally named and being sued as the like in that Janelle Grant lawsuit or whatever. Like, how would you respond to that?
On the part of the Harvey Weinstein thing, I have several cousins, several family members who watched the draft all weekend. Not one of them made mention to the Harvey Weinstein comment. And I think I put that in a tweet, like, even online, if you check the socials, Facebook, Instagram, not many people outside of the IWC even gave a damn about what he said about Harvey Weinstein. It was almost like a passing comment that nobody even put 2 and 2 together. But meanwhile, the IWC went so crazy on the idea that he had mentioned Harvey Weinstein, and it was just like quite a contrast between people who don't watch wrestling on this Tony Khan segment and people who do watch wrestling. And the IWC was extremely emotional over that Harvey Weinstein comment. I get it, of course, but the average person that doesn't watch wrestling or doesn't give a shit about AEW, they didn't care. They mocked it or didn't make mention of it at all.